Okay, so as I was saying right when that last video was ending, you can go on Revit City and do a search for curtain wall panels, and doors, and see what kind of if there's different types of doors that you can bring in. But obviously you have to make sure that it's a curtain wall panel, because even if I go to this door, you can see it's a door, but it really can only be inserted as a curtain wall panel. Like I can't use it as a door elsewhere, on like a regular wall. The one thing that I do want to know is that you can see that the handles are not showing up, where you can actually see that there is a handle to it. And then the same with the storefront door, there isn't a handle. And the reason for that is whoever set these up when they created them. So we'll see that we're in medium detail. So for medium and coarse, the handle doesn't show up. But when you switch to fine, then the handle sees for the fine detail level. Now that can be adjusted, where you can go to Edit Family, and you can click on the handle, and then you can do visibility settings, and then where it says detail levels, you can check them for all three detail levels, and then load into the project and close. For this instance, you probably want to save it just so it updates and it will stay the same, for all your projects then on, because it's really weird, and it's actually not going to let me save it because it's opened somewhere else. But for now I'm just gonna hit no, and I'm gonna overwrite it. So now when I switch to a coarse detail, the door, it's still there. But I actually forgot to do the other side. So if I swing around this other side one as well, you gotta switch detail level, the visibility for the detail levels. So now it's there, and then the same for this double door one. If I go to the detail level, I can click on, and this one, the handles are one entity, which is a little bit nicer. But I can edit its visibility settings, and for the detail levels, I can show it. And then you can also see it shows differently in the different views here. So it'll always display in 3D view, and then front and left, front, back, left and right, basically your elevation views. Then if you check this, obviously right now it's not showing in plans or reflected ceiling plans, but if you check that, it would. Typically you wouldn't want that checked. You could always just leave that off. So it would show up in elevations, and then at the 3D view, elevations, and then all detail levels. And then again, if you can save it, save it. So I'm going to load it into the project one because that's what I'm working on. And then, as I said, for this instance, you want to probably save it. This is the one time that you maybe want to save it, because this is something that you want to stay throughout. But again, it's read only, so I'm just gonna cancel, just not save it for now and just load it into the project. And now all the different detail levels have those handles in, so it's easier to see. So that's how you kind of start to work with curtain walls and get them to kind of do what you want. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy over the bottom floor, because the last thing that I want to show you is how to put curtain walls inside of another wall. So what you saw here is I basically just designed this building, or the shell of a building, basically with just a curtain wall on the exterior, a glass curtain wall on the exterior. And I didn't really have any other type of wall there. But a lot of times, maybe when you're designing, or last minute changes or anything like that, you may, or if it's not a full curtain wall, maybe it's like a little storefront that's for a little bit of a space, you may have a curtain wall inside of another wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a generic 12-inch wall. Say this is my exterior wall, and make sure that they're going up to the top level, which they are. And then you can look here. And I won't do the floors because I'm just showing it for this purpose. But say, so this is like, say you're in the early stages of design and you're just kind of starting to design stuff, and then you realize, oh, maybe this wall is a full curtain wall, and then maybe this one, there's like a little curtain wall maybe here. How can I add those in? The great thing about that is you do not have to delete these. When you draw a curtain wall inside of this wall, Revit knows to cut it automatically, and Revit knows it should cut it automatically. If it doesn't, I'm going to show you a way how to cut it out. So it does come out. And this again works for all three type of curtain walls, but I'm just going to use the storefront one for now. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, this is the inside of that wall. So I'm going to go from here to here. And you can see Revit automatically cut this wall out of the solid wall, of that generic 12-inch wall. So when you go to look at it in plan, it's already cut out. And it's within, it's inside that wall. This one, and that has those corner mullions that I assigned. But in this instance, you probably wouldn't want a corner mullion because you have the end of the regular wall there. So if I go to edit type and duplicate it, I'm going to switch those corner mullions back to the rectangular 2.5 by 5, and I duplicate it so it wouldn't change what I had going on here. So you can see it cleans up a little bit more. And then I had to put that in the center, but you could move it over if you wanted to later on. I actually did a center line of this for the floor, so the floor is a little bit off. So if I just update the floor for a second, so it's at the edge. When I drew these lines, I had the location line as the center instead of the finished face exterior. So I'm just gonna put these out. So the floor matches the wall. So you can see with this glass, you might want to move it over a little bit. You will notice here that if I move that glass, it didn't move, but sometimes that wall will move with it. So you can move that so it's kind of like on the edge a little bit. After it's in, once you place it, you can move it so it's more on the edge where you want it to be. The nice thing too is you can see this is I did this as a full height. So it cuts the full height of the wall. But if I realize later on that maybe I only want this to go up to level 3, it'll add back in that wall that I cut before. So it knows to add it in, and then again, if I only do, level 2 up to levels, maybe it's just on that top floor, it'll add back in the bottom. So there's many different things that you can do. And then again, if I go in, if I do create similar, do the same thing on this side. And once the curtain wall's in, you can always stretch it or shrink it. Maybe this one's a little bit smaller, and maybe this one is only one floor, so it only goes up to level 2. Maybe you have an instant like that. And again, it automatically knows to cut it out. If you ever do have an instant where it doesn't cut out, and I'm going to show you right here. So you can see right now what I did is I uncut that curtain wall, so it doesn't cut automatically from this wall. If you ever have this instance where that happens, what you do is you go to the Modify tab. So what I do to do that is I did uncut, but if this ever happens automatically, you would use cut geometry, where you first select the wall that you want to cut, and then you select what you want to cut out of it. So now it knows that it's there. So that's how you can always fix it if it never does it automatically. So now you can see it's back to normal, doing what it needs to do. I'm actually gonna switch that back up. Oops. So now, say like if I wanted this curtain wall to turn the corner, if I trim the two, trim this one with this one, it cuts out that corner there. And you can see sometimes it gets a little finicky with the corner, with what's the center. This is because I actually got to move this over so it matches. So now when I look at it, it'll be, and then you can see that this kind of wall is still giving me like a little piece of that wall. So you could edit that if you wanted to. Sometimes it can be a little bit pain with Revit because it wants to go all the way. If you did a corner mullion, that may help. Let me switch back to a corner mullion for a second. I'm just going to go back to storefront one. I want to see if that does anything. Obviously, you'd have a corner mullion there. Sometimes you just got to push it and pull it to see if you can get it to work. Yeah, it's still giving me that little piece of wall. It's okay for now. It's good to, but if you ever wanted to update that little piece of wall, to get it out, what you can do is once you have everything situated and you know where everything's going to be, you can come in and edit this profile. So instead of cutting it out automatically, you're kind of going to be cutting it yourself. So it wraps around the wall. If you ever have an instant like this is how you can tell Revit to override what you were doing. What it's doing, so now it will take away that little piece. But again, that's something that you want to do like at the very end once everything's situated and in its place, kind of like your cleanup for maybe like a presentation, where you want to get rid of that wall that you don't want there, but you want to do it at the end. So like if you start to change this, it'll still cut it out and update it. Whereas once you edit the profile, it won't update it like that. Update it like that anymore. So that's kind of it. For the kind of like basic stuff for curtain walls that I wanted to show. Can't really think of anything more. I am going to do one other tutorial to show you how to do shading devices using mullions, which is kind of interesting. Instead of having to try to do a shading device, you can do a shading device just as a mullion itself. Kind of quickly. But yeah, that's it for the kind of basic use and manipulation of curtain